Again, Internet, welcome back to our weekly live stream. My name is Alicia, and in this week's lesson, we are going to talk about a very common question: how to use should have, could have, and would have in everyday conversation. I'm also going to talk about making negative statements. So today's lesson will be focused on making statements. I'm not going to really talk so much about making questions. Today we're going to talk about the differences between these three patterns. So I'm going to try to use a lot of examples on the board today, but I hope that you send lots of examples in the chat as well. So we will wait a couple minutes for other people to join us live. While we wait, please don't forget to send a message in the chat. Make sure to like and share the video also so other learners can find it. And what else? Get some stuff ready to write about so you can take notes about today's lesson. We'll start in about 2 minutes. In the meantime, a couple announcements. Announcement 1, I guess we'll talk about that picture first. Okay. Announcement 1, if you have not seen our culture series, which is on the English Class 101 YouTube channel, please check it out. Yesterday, we made the 3rd episode of this series. So the culture series is not just about language. It's not only about learning English. We're talking about cultural points as well. So for example, the first episode of the series was about American convenience stores. Our second episode will be out very soon, and this 3rd episode has to do with cities. So this was from yesterday. If you have not seen the first episode, please search on the English Class 101 YouTube channel for convenience stores. You will find it right away. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, don't forget, as always, free stuff as well. So this is the banner we always have here, but this is, sorry, shall I move? Okay. This is just a screenshot of all of the different PDFs you can find from the link below the video if you are watching this on YouTube, or above the video on Facebook. So please check this out. These are all free to download. Lots of you ask, how do we download these? What's the process? So if you would like to download these, you need an account on our website. So if you click the link, the next thing you'll see is something like this, kind of like this. So you can make an account for free with your email address here. If you have an account, just log in. So you'll do that. Once you have an account, you can download whatever you like for free. So this is the family and relatives one, but we have many more. So please check it out. Check it out, check it out. Okay, that is everything for announcements. I see many people in all of the chats. Hello, Alberto. Chris Pratt. Oh my gosh, Chris Pratt is in the chat today. Hi, everybody. Alexi, hello. Jairo, sorry if I mispronounce your name. Penelope, Naeem, hello. On Facebook, Ravi, hello. Hal and Maria, hi. Hi, everybody. There are lots of people. Great. We have lots of good stuff to talk about. So let's get started. I'm going to share the video, and then I'm going to begin today's lesson. There we are. Okay, so as I said, today's focus will be on using should have, could have, and would have. So a big theme with this grammar is regret. Regret. So what is regret? Regret is sad feelings about something that happened or did not happen in the past. So we're going to focus a lot on sad things in the past. Okay, so let's begin with should and shouldn't have. First, how do we make a statement with should and shouldn't have? We use our subject, so that's I, you, we, he, she, and so on. And then we add should have for a positive statement, or shouldn't have for a negative statement. This is the change we make for positive and for negative. Then we use a past participle verb. So like eaten or gone, for example. So what is the difference here? What does this even mean? When we make a positive sentence, so subject should have past participle verb, We're talking about something that did not happen in the past. So in this diagram, the blue color means a positive expression. So this is something that did not happen in the past. I marked it with an X. And we feel sad about it, like we're not happy about it. This thing did not happen and I feel sad. I feel regret. When we make a negative sentence, subject shouldn't have plus past participle verb, it means that thing, it happened, it did happen. Something happened and we feel sad about it. So positive did not happen. Negative did happen. This is maybe seems a little bit backwards. So let's practice this with a few example sentences. So many of you are students, I know. So a common example is, I should have studied more. I should have studied more. So let's break this one down. My subject is I. I follow my subject with should have, right here, I should have. Studied is the past participle form of study. And in this case, I use more. So this means I should have studied more than I did. So I studied a little bit, but my regret is I didn't study enough. I didn't study enough. So I should have studied more. This sentence means, because it's positive, I'm using positive should have here, this idea. So this did not happen. So I studied a little bit, but I should have studied more. I should have studied more. So this is a very common one for students, for sure, for anyone studying anything really, for language, whatever. So I should have studied more is a very common example. Okay, let's take a look at a negative now. A negative. Let's use I shouldn't. I shouldn't have eaten that candy. I often have this regret. This is true. There's a weird peppermint thing in the office. Anyway, I shouldn't have eaten that candy. This is a common regret for some people, for me, for sure. So let's break this down. So we begin with I. I is my subject, again, me. I, negative, shouldn't have, should not have, the reduced form here. I shouldn't have eaten. Eaten is the past participle form of the verb eat. And what? That candy. So this means here, because it's a negative, this is a negative, that means this happened. I know that this pattern means this thing happened. There's a check here. It's kind of hard to see and a sad face. So I shouldn't have eaten that candy. That means I ate the candy and maybe I feel sick. Or I ate the candy and now I have too much energy, maybe. Whatever. So I feel some regret about this thing in the past. I shouldn't have eaten that candy. So this is a positive and a negative example. Also, a pronunciation point about this, and we'll talk about it for the others too. When we pronounce this should have and this shouldn't have, we make it very quick and very short. So let's listen. This should have, I should have studied more, sounds like I should have studied more. At native speed, I should have studied more. So this should have sounds like shoulda. Shoulda. It's like we put an A at the end of should. I should have studied more. I should have studied more. This is how a native speaker pronounces should have. So you usually do not hear have here. Should have studied more. In the negative, we do the same thing. Shouldn't have. Shouldn't have is pronounced as shouldna. Shouldna. So this should not, this nt sound in shouldn't becomes it's hard to hear this sound. Get close to the mic. Shouldna. It's true. It's true. Why are you laughing? Shouldna. Shoulda. Well, it's hard to hear the end sound. So shouldn't have becomes shouldna. Should have becomes shoulda. Some examples are coming in. Hello. Someone says, I should not have trusted him. Perfect. Perfect example. Diego says he shouldn't have eaten so much candy. Maybe sounds good. He shouldn't have eaten so much candy. Good. I saw one more, I think, on YouTube. It's gone now. That's okay. I saw a couple. Yeah, there's a bunch there. Sorry, YouTube. Aparna said we should have completed our work. Perfect. Someone says, Dawit says, I should have studied more with Alicia. Woo, yeah, thanks for studying now. Perfect sentence. Other examples. Ashu says, I should have washed my face before watching this stream, maybe. So past participle verb. Past participle of wash is washed. I should have washed my face. Gale says, you should have brought my wallet. Perfect. Very nice. Some other examples. Masaya, hey again, Masaya. Masaya says, I shouldn't have done it. Good. I shouldn't have done it is a great one to use. Great pattern. Thanks for that, Masaya. I shouldn't have done it, or I shouldn't have done that. This is a great point for everybody to remember. I shouldn't have done that is super useful because that can mean anything in the past. When you make a mistake and you feel bad about it, especially for like kids, or maybe if you have a problem in like your friendship or something, you can like apologize and say, I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. So great pattern. Some other ones. Johan says, I shouldn't have drank a lot of beer. Oh, that's relatable for sure. Okay. Someone, sorry, I can't read your name on YouTube, the characters. I should not have said that to you. Sorry. Perfect. Nice examples, everybody. Great. Should have and should not have sounds really good. Okay, sounds good. Let's take a break then, and we'll go to could have and could not have next. Very nice examples, everybody. Awesome. So get ready for could have next. In the meantime, shall I show physical items or shall we see a picture? We shall see a picture. We shall do both. Oh my gosh, we have the technology. So I showed you the free stuff as always last week and gave some tips if you are having trouble downloading all of our free stuff. These things are the same as these here. Like travel ones or food ones, whatever. If you want to download these, you can click the link below the video on YouTube or above the video if you're watching on Facebook. If you're watching on Instagram, go to YouTube or Facebook. I can't see your comments live, sorry. Go here, and if you have an account, please log in with your account, your email address. If you do not have an account, you can make one for free. And after you do that, you can download all this stuff from the link. So that's the 3 steps to get all of this free stuff. So today we're talking about regrets a lot, but you can use this with any verb. So with travel related verbs, like some of you have said, I should have gone there. Someone said I should have gone to that island. Or we're talking about food. I shouldn't have eaten that, for example. Or if you are talking about shopping for clothes, I shouldn't have bought those expensive shoes, for example. So you can practice this grammar with any verb, and we all have things we wish we had and had not done for sure. So check out all of that free stuff from the link below the video on YouTube or above the video on Facebook. Okay, let's continue. Thanks everybody for your example sentences in part 1. Let's go on now to part 2. If you're just joining, we're talking about should have, could have, and would have. The video is being recorded, so please check the first part of today's lesson. Also, if you have not already, make sure to like and share the video so other people can find it. Alrighty, let's continue to part 2. Part 2 is about using could and couldn't have. Could and couldn't have. So exactly as we did with should and shouldn't have, when we make the statement, when we make our statement, we use subject plus could have plus past participle verb. So this is exactly the same. We just replace should with could. In the negative, it's also the same. Subject couldn't have plus past participle verb. So you'll notice this pattern, this is the same for all 3 points today. But this change is very important. So what does could have or couldn't have mean? Let's talk about positives and negatives again. First, in a positive statement, it means that thing in the past, something in the past, did not happen. That thing did not happen, but it was possible. It was possible. So on my diagram here, this is my timeline. Here's now, here's the past. So this is my action. I marked with an X. So this did not happen, but it was possible. It did not happen, but it was possible. Let's compare this to the negative then. So that thing was impossible in the past. That thing was not possible in the past. So this is the key difference. So this is very different from should have and shouldn't have. Yeah, so that's very about regrets. This is talking more about possibility, and we often use it for regret. Not always, but we often use it for regret. So again, positive did not happen, but it was possible, and negative was not possible in the past. So let's practice with some example sentences. Okay, first one. Let's practice with a positive. I could have helped you with your, am I still in frame? Homework. Am I gonna, okay? Oh, my writing. Okay, with your homework. All right, that's a long sentence, sorry. I could have helped you with your homework. Okay, so, ouch. So I showed you this part right here. So up to this part is the same as this. So in this case, these are my sentence details. I could have helped you with your homework. So here my subject is I. I've used could have here to make a positive, and my past participle verb is helped. At native speed, this sounds like I could have helped you with your homework. Sorry, I could have helped you with your homework. So what does this sentence mean? This sentence means I did not help you with your homework. I did not help you in the past, but it was possible. It was possible. I had time, or I was near you. I was at school. I could have helped you, but I didn't. Maybe I didn't know. So I could have helped you with your homework. So this is a positive example. A positive one. I could have, but I didn't. So positive sentence, yes, did not happen. This action did not happen. Okay. So let's move on to a negative example then, a negative example. Let's change the subject then. Let's change it. She couldn't have eaten that pizza by herself. She couldn't have eaten that pizza by herself. So let's imagine for this sentence, maybe you're sitting in a restaurant and you see a young woman, a very young woman, maybe she's 10 years old, with a huge pizza. And then later, the pizza's gone. And you think, what? She's so small. There's no way. She couldn't have eaten that pizza by herself. So my subject is she. I'm using the negative couldn't have. My past participle verb is eaten. And here are my sentence details. She couldn't have eaten that pizza by herself. By herself means alone, just her only. She couldn't have eaten that pizza by herself. So this sentence means this situation, so eating the pizza by herself, was impossible. So she's like a tiny, tiny girl with a giant pizza. It's bigger than her. So this situation was impossible in the past. We use couldn't have plus past participle verb to express that point. So this is the difference between positive and negative with could have and couldn't have. So again, a pronunciation point, just as I talked about with should have and shouldn't have. Could have sounds like coulda. Coulda. I could have helped you. I could have helped you with your homework. I could have come to your party. I could have washed the dishes, but I didn't. So coulda. Similarly, couldn't have sounds like couldn't-a. couldn't. She couldn't have eaten that pizza by herself. That's what a native speaker would say. I couldn't have come. That couldn't have been him. Couldn't. Some examples from you guys. Great. Someone says, I couldn't have bought the car's agency. I'm not quite sure what that one means. Sorry about that. I couldn't have prepared breakfast for us this morning. Okay, maybe I couldn't prepare breakfast for us this morning. Is a little bit different. I could have had 2 children. I could have had 2 children. So don't forget, when this verb is have, the past participle form is had. So yes, it's correct to say could have had. I could have had 2 children. Okay, Madridista, sorry, I could have gone there. Good. Florence says she couldn't have gone to school by herself. Perfect. Good. Yadira says, I could have bought food for dinner. Good. So that means it didn't happen. Or wait, sorry, what was your sentence? I could have bought food for dinner. So it sounds like I could have, I didn't, but I could have, it was possible. I could have bought food for dinner. Good. They could have studied English 10 years ago. Yes, exactly. So again, that means that did not happen, but it was possible. Amr on Facebook says she couldn't have done the homework by herself. Good example. Nice. Someone said, Camboy on Facebook says, I could have had 3 children. So no S. Children is plural. Good. It's going very fast. I couldn't watch the live last Wednesday. Okay, a little bit different grammar point. We're focusing on couldn't have. Okay, he couldn't have, they couldn't have come yet. Good. They couldn't have come yet, so it's not possible for them to come yet. Good. I couldn't have studied English without you. Woo, thanks. Good. Some good examples coming in, but this one's a little tricky. I couldn't. Don't forget this have. So I think some people, looking at the chat, the issue I see is some people are using simple past to talk about like ability in the past. Like I couldn't come to work yesterday. That's like an impossible situation. Yesterday, sure. But like I couldn't have like done something. We're talking about other kinds of like impossibility in the past there. So not like simple past tense possibility. It's a little different. Okay. Let's continue. Time is running out, so let's continue on to a break, and then we'll go to the third point. Some other good examples are coming in, though. I couldn't have passed the university exam when I was 15. Very nice example. Okay, let's take one more quick break, and then we'll go to our last point for today. Again, if you missed it before, free stuff. Okay, free stuff. We won't show you the screenshots this time, but I showed you a couple of these PDFs before. So as I've said, you can use all of these to practice today's grammar point. So we're talking about should have, could have, and would have. We practice these with verbs. So for example, if you are visiting a hotel, I shouldn't have booked that hotel. Or I could have booked that hotel, but I didn't. Or if you are talking with your family, you could use this as well. So like, for example, I should have called my mother yesterday. Or I could have visited my parents last week, but I didn't. So we can use all of these grammar points with all of these different topics. So if you would like to download these vocabulary sheets, please check the link below the video on YouTube or above the video on Facebook. If you're watching on Instagram, please check YouTube or Facebook. And please remember, I cannot see your comments in real time. Okay, let's continue to the last point for today's lesson, tricky point. Would have and wouldn't have. Would have and wouldn't have. Let's get going. So, last point for today. Also, if you have not, make sure to like and share the video. Okay. Would have and wouldn't have. As I've talked about already, this follows the same pattern as could and couldn't have and should and shouldn't have. So we begin with our subject. We use would have, and we use the past participle form of a verb. Or to make the negative form, we use subject plus wouldn't have plus the past participle form. Another point about this in particular is that we use this, I think many of you know about the third conditional. The third conditional is when we use like some kind of if statement, yeah? So like if I had known, or like if he had come, there's some kind of if situation there. We very commonly use this together with if conditionals. So we're making a third, it's called the third type, the third conditional type statements. So let's compare then, again, positives and negatives with this would have and wouldn't have. First, we make a positive statement. We're saying if the past situation had been different, this would have been my plan. So my plan would be, or my plan will be. So we imagine I'm in the past in a different situation. So this is not a true situation. And in this different situation, my plan is, but what's difficult here is this did not happen. So it may be hard to see here, but this I've marked with an X. So this thing did not happen, but I want to express my plan if the past were different. So again, this did not happen. This thing did not happen. I'll show an example in a moment. Conversely, on the other hand, in the negative form, this thing did happen. It did happen, but in a different situation, it might not have happened. So in a different situation, in the past, again, I imagine myself in the past, in a different situation, this thing, it did happen, but maybe I have a different plan. So this is maybe kind of tricky. We're talking about totally unreal past situations here. So I think in some languages, this type of grammar doesn't exist, so it's a bit tricky. So let's practice with some examples. Alrighty, let me find my example. Uh-oh, my iPad is frozen. There we go, my notes. Okay, so let's look at a positive example first. I would have helped you with your homework if I had had time. I would have helped you with your homework if I had had time. So let's focus on this part right here. I would have helped you with your homework. Let's begin right here. So I would have helped. That's this part. Subject I, would have, plus past participle verb helped. I would have helped. So this means, in the past, I did not help you with your homework. I did not help you with your homework. But if this situation had been true, it was not true. If this situation had been true, I would have, meaning my plan was to help you. So this did not happen. This did not happen. But if the past were different, this would be my plan. So this is how we talk about like kind of regrets a little bit of regret. So in this case, if I had had time, this means I did not have time. I did not have time. But if I had had time, I would have helped you with your homework. This is maybe like a common expression. If I had had time, I would have something. So if I had had time, I would have helped you with your homework. Another point about this one is we can switch the order. So I've introduced this I would have first at the beginning of the sentence. You can change it. So the if statement can come first. That's okay as well. Okay, I'm out of time. So let's quickly go to a negative example. Let's see. Let's use a short one. Okay, let's use this one. I wouldn't have been so upset if you had just called me. Okay. Negative example. I wouldn't have been so upset if you had just called me. So the tone of voice I would use in this one would be very angry, probably. I wouldn't have been so upset if you had just called me. So someone's probably very angry or sad when they say this. This means, so I wouldn't have been. Been is the past participle verb here. So I wouldn't have been means I was upset. I was upset in the past. But if you, this is my if conditional, if you had called me in the past, I would not have been upset. So I was upset, but if you had called me, I would not have been upset. So again, totally not a real situation, not a true situation. So for negatives, again, it did happen, but in a different situation, it might not have happened. Positive situations, it did not happen. In a different situation, it might not have happened. So this is how we use would and wouldn't have. Quick crash course. Okay, so some examples from you real quick, and then we have to finish up for today. If I won the lottery, I would buy a boat. Slightly different conditional. Let's practice using would have, would have. I would have bought a new car if I had won the lottery, Paul. I would have bought a new car if I had won the lottery. Other ones. I would have visited Alicia on my last travel to Japan if I had had time. Nice one, Kirsten. I would have studied music if I had had a chance. So again, nice example, Veronica. If I had had a chance. So I know it sounds weird, but this is correct. When have is your verb here, when I had is correct. If I had had time, you need to change have to had to make the past participle form. I would have helped you with your homework if I hadn't been so busy. So maybe a couple things to practice today. Some people can practice this compared to simple past tense couldn't. And another thing is to practice using making the third form conditional. Lots of you are using would with no have here. So maybe one point to practice is using would have with the past participle verb. All right, I have to end today's lesson. Oh my gosh, it went so fast. So thank you to everybody for joining us today. Next week, I'm going to do a lesson about phrasal verbs. So many have asked about phrasal verbs, and it's quite challenging to just throw a bunch of verbs at you with no category. So next week's category will be phrasal verbs for the office. Phrasal verbs for the office, or phrasal verbs you can use at work. That will be our topic for next week. So the date next week will be July 3rd, Wednesday, July 3rd at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is New York City time. If you do not know your local time, please Google it. So next week, we don't have it on screen, but next week will be phrasal verbs for the office. So a vocabulary heavy lesson for next week. I hope that it's helpful for lots of you. Even if you don't work in an office, I will try to make the lesson so you can use it like at school as well. So please join us again next week at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much to everybody for sending your example sentences. Definitely review these grammar points, especially these two, I think, and enjoy your studies. So thanks everybody again for liking, sharing. That was awesome. And we will see you again next week. Don't forget to download your free stuff too. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your weekend. I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.